Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 47 of Absolute Scenes podcast, celebrating a whole year to the day that me and Billy started on this adventure. How are you doing, Billy?
Good. I don't know where to look because we've got the Zoom call, which obviously sometimes we put up on YouTube, other times we don't, and then we've got it on Instagram. I'm like, I don't know how professionals do this, looking at multiple cameras. I need a red light of where to look and stuff.
Yeah. So, for those of you who are not watching live, which there are two, one of them being Billy, who's called into the Instagram. It's now gone down to one, so nobody's watching. But yeah, you can follow us on Instagram at, I can't remember what it is, Scenes Podcast, Absolute Scenes Podcast, one of them. And perhaps if this goes well, if people get involved in the chat, then perhaps we'll do this again, but very much doubt it at the moment due to the technical difficulties. But how's your week been then, Billy?
Good, sunny. Typical PE teacher, glad that the sun's out for the time being. It was pretty poor on over the weekend, raining quite a bit, and then last week. So this week I managed to, the last 2 days, go outside with the kids, and they regret it because now I've actually done like a proper PE lesson where they've been sweating buckets because they've been outside, whereas over the last couple of rainy days it's been more team building games and stuff like that. So yeah, it's good to finally have some normality, if you will, with the PE lessons. How about you?
Well, the week's been fine up until yesterday, where I had an absolute stinker, and it wasn't just from one event. There were several events that happened that really narked me. So, go on. What are you going to say?
Breathe, Tom. That's all I was going to say. Breathe and take us through it, Tom. Breathe and take us through it.
So, it all started with, I thought that last night I would make a cake. So on the way home, from school, I stopped off at Sainsbury's. I pulled into the car parking space, but I didn't quite know exactly what I needed to buy. So I was checking my phone for BBC Good Food. What kind of stuff do I need to buy? And so for lemon drizzle cake, you need lemons.
Oh, good.
And then
tasty.
And then the usual lot, the usual cake ingredients.
Yeah, which
As
were
I was
what,
about
Tom?
You got your butter, flour, sugar, eggs. I think that's it, isn't it?
Yeah. I was going. I just wanted to see what you said.
So I did all that. That was fine. Then I went to get out the car and heard an almighty crunch from my back left-hand side, and the lady next to me had reversed right into the back of my car, into the rear passenger door. And she got out and went, "Oh, sorry, I seem to have hit your car." I went, "Yeah, you have, haven't you?" "Yes." And then instead of like trying to just come straight back out and avoid hitting my car anymore, she she drove back forwards and made sure she really
did a good job of it.
Yeah. So if there's anybody listening out there who can do paint work on cars for cheap, though she did accept responsibility, so that's fine. It won't be me paying for it in the end.
No.
But yeah, annoying. So that was the first thing. Then the second thing, as I was making the cake, it was all going fine. Came to the bit where you do the glaze on the drizzle, if you will, on the lemon drizzle. I thought, I can't be bothered to wash up another chopping board, so I'm just going to chop this. I'm just going to chop this lemon in my hand, and I can you see that? Instagram people, look, I've cut my thumb. Zoom people, there you go, cut my thumb. I've had a plaster on it all day, and it's still bleeding a little bit now. So yeah, other than that though, it's been quite a straightforward, ordinary week so far. But there's something I wanted to ask you about, Billy. In fact, I was going to be super prepared for this podcast, but then I couldn't be bothered.
General theme there. It's me flapping about and panicking that I'm not prepared and all this stuff, and more often than not, you're not prepared anyway. You just couldn't be bothered.
As it's exactly a year since we started, I went back through and listened to the first, or to sections of the first 5 or 6 podcasts. Oh, apparently Ricky Gervais has just gone live as well on Instagram, so the 3 people that are currently watching are soon going to leave. Yeah, so I've written like quiz questions for the first 5 or 6 episodes. But then I was going to write one for each of the episodes going through, but I only got as far as 5 or 6. So
Yeah.
That's as much as I did. But
yeah.
It's a shame.
What were you going to ask me then? You're going to ask me something.
So the first question was for episode 1. We spoke about Kipchoge, the marathon runner, and I didn't actually find out the time that he ran it in. But what was the time that Kipchoge ran that marathon in? What was the exact time that he ran that marathon?
Wasn't it 58 minutes? Was it 58 minutes and 42 seconds?
Wow, Billy. If somebody manages to run a marathon in 58 minutes, that would be something. It was 1 hour and 59 minutes and 40 seconds. So, yeah.
I was thinking, I was forgetting. Forgot about the an hour bit.
It was a half
more because it was obviously the 2 hour mark. No, I'd forgot to say 1 hour. It was a case of I was thinking, because I knew it was trying to get under a 2 hour, and I was thinking, right, what was the minute? Obviously, focusing on the minutes and forgetting to say the important 1 hour bit. But no, yeah, it was. I thought he did it. I thought he managed to beat it by a minute in it, but obviously not. It was just
no,
obviously just pitched it, didn't he, to get it down below the 2 hours.
Yeah. The only other thing I was going to say to you now, as well, before the podcast really kicks off, is that I listened to your podcast with Annabelle. Is that her name? The Spanish lady.
Yeah.
And she was slagging me off unnecessarily, I thought.
Yeah.
If you haven't listened to Billy's podcast, it's called Around the Podcast in 80 Girls. And it's really worth listening to. It's really worth listening to. It's a very good podcast. Go on.
But it's called A Backpacker's Guide to Travel, not Around the World in 80 Girls or whatever you just called it. But no, yeah, it was because it was after you slagged off the whole of Spain, basically, after our visit to Madrid. She'd obviously listened to that podcast and had said, right, I need to come on and redeem the nation, and did. So yeah, come on, go and listen to it. But going off I had obviously some car troubles, if you will, this week as well. So probably I would argue worse than yours, because I'm having to pay for it as opposed to you having, claiming on insurance. Even though probably in the long run you will end up paying for it because it's through insurance, if that makes sense. You'll end up having a higher insurance or whatever potentially. I don't know. But yeah, my car failed its MOT. So that's 350 quid for new springs, new brakes, new pipes, and all this malarkey. So yeah,
what's wrong with the car? The pipes.
Yeah,
oh, goodness.
The brake. Well, it was the brake pipes. They said the brake pipes, and I was like, right, yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I'm not a mechanic. If anyone listening is a mechanic, please let me know what they do, or I've been swindled. And it's one of those things where they just go, oh yeah, you need one of these new gadgets sort of thing in your car, and you're like, oh yeah, get me one of those. What is it? The left phalange. The left phalange's gone on my car. I need to pay for a new one, and it costs 300 quid. The rest of it's only 50 quid. So it's just this left phalange that's costing so much. So yeah, but that's I won't get my car back now, I think, until Saturday, which is a bit of a pain. Because it'll be the end of Saturday at the earliest. If not, I might not have it until next week. So, but hey ho.
Right, time for question 2, Billy, from episode 2.
Okay.
Who did we describe as being the best British athlete in our lifetime? I actually described them as being the best English athlete in our lifetime.
Andy Murray.
Who was it? Andy Murray.
Again, Tom insulting a nation.
Yeah. Okay, I'll hit you with the other 3 now, just so that we get them done and out of the way. In episode 3, we had 8 callers. 8 people contributed to the podcast. Can you name 4 of them? Because they were all friends of mine.
No, Xander was one, wasn't he?
That's his name. I had him down as Scottish bloke.
Scottish bloke.
A sporting moment great.
Surely Harry Mansell. He probably rang you.
Yeah, he was. Yeah.
Did you?
From
your dad?
Slovakia. No, he didn't. No.
Your mum?
Nope.
Or your sister? Did no one from your? Oh, did no one from your family?
My
Your sister.
sister
I knew
did,
it was one of your member of your family.
So you've got 3.
I'm trying to think of anyone else. Dazzling Dave, did he contribute?
No.
Bruce, did Bruce contribute?
Yes.
Did. I was surprised we didn't get a translator for that between her and Xander. Fair play to everyone who listens to that podcast. So I'm doing okay at the minute.
Yeah, you've done all right. So the other ones were Dan Bayliss from the 77 Club podcast, Robbie Gates, who I worked with last year and before, Ben from Bath, who's a friend of mine, who I also used to work with.
Was he in a Bath?
No, he's not even. He was born in Bath, but lives in Wolverhampton. But I thought it'd make it seem like our listenership was from further afield than our own workplaces. Okay, in episode 4, I introduced the podcast by saying this is the biggest podcast. And then how did I then introduce it? So, welcome to the biggest Rats and Roach, or whatever it's called at the time, the biggest podcast. Blank.
So not like
blank.
Blank.
There's 6 blanks.
Oh wow. I was going to say that's absolutely rubbish or something like that, but that wasn't. We weren't in the studio for that one, were we?
No.
I was just thinking you playing the Who. And the horn and stuff. I can't remember, Tom. It's not going to be the world. But
it was the biggest podcast recorded between Cardigan and Dudley.
Yeah, sounds about. It might even be second now on that list.
I don't know. Have our siblings set up a podcast?
Probably knowing our luck.
And then the final question, in episode 5, we talk about the YouTube fight. Who was the fight between?
KSI and Logan Paul.
Correct. Well done, Billy.
Yeah, it was only because we were talking about something similar off air about things in work. In work, you were saying about your you had to do a cover. You had to cover a lesson today, and you said they were just talking about.
We were talking about that. I was like, are they having another fight then? Because that was a year ago. I know that was a year ago because I was looking. It's
obviously because they listened to our podcast and they just listened to that episode.
Oh my god! Oh my god! It's the actual Tom Mouse. No, that kind of moves us swiftly onto what I would like to talk about today, because if I'm right in thinking, it was the news that sort of broke immediately after. Or did we talk about it last week? I can't remember. But it was the pay-per-view football.
No, I think it broke the day after, because I text you saying we need to stop the podcast because we keep predicting what's going to happen. We had Banksy, then we had Trump getting coronavirus, and then we had. We were talking about fans being allowed back in and things like that. And we didn't predict that there'd be a pay-per-view. But obviously we were talking that it's going to still be a sort of thing. On that note, Tom, before you get on to that, because I don't think you probably remembered, we had brilliant news, didn't we, yesterday that I texted you?
Yeah, we did.
Yeah. What was that news, Tom?
It was that Robbie Savage has saved our beloved Macclesfield town.
Or McClassified if you're American.
McClassified FC. Yeah, they've now changed their name, haven't they? But they're called. Are they called Macclesfield FC or something like that?
Yeah, so they were Macclesfield Town, and now they're just Macclesfield Town FC. They were Macclesfield Town FC. They're just Macclesfield FC now.
I think I understand as well that they've had to go into the Football League pyramid well below they usually would. Well. So they've got relegated from League 2, but they've gone down into the sort of regional league. So it would take a long time until they get back to the Football League, if they ever do get back to the Football League. But
we were very happy, weren't we, Tom?
Yeah, delighted.
That's what we wanted to say.
And if there's any sort of way that the podcast, with all the riches that we boast now of about £2.50, if there's any sort of way that we can support the club, we'll be more than happy to. I think. Definitely.
But yeah, you. Obviously, I cut in there, Tom. Sorry, go on. You want about pay-per-view?
Yeah, I was trying to be professional. It's only taken 47 episodes of this podcast to get to this level of professionality without one listener on Instagram Live, which is you.
Me.
So, pay-per-view football is not a new thing. If you remember back in the day when it was the Premier League, they used to have Prem Plus. Remember that?
Yeah.
Or Setanta. You used to have to pay for some games, so it's not a new thing. But the issue now is that because obviously nobody can go to the games at all, they are, for some reason, choosing games which are not they're not headliner games. If you take Man United against Liverpool would be probably the headliner game, or City against United, they're the big ones.
Yeah,
they're not being picked for pay-per-view. It's the lesser games, and none more so than Burnley against West Bromwich Albion. You now have to pay £14.95 to get access to watch that on BT. Now, what we said last week was that people are just going to end up watching illegal streams eventually.
Yeah.
And it's going to...
Not that we do, Tom, do we?
No, not at all.
No,
but
no.
I was listening to the 77 Club podcast, which friend of the podcast, and he was listening, but he had to go out and buy rabbit food. Harry Mansell was listening to their podcast, and they were talking about an idea of like Prem flicks. And I'd seen this sort of idea before, whereby if you're a Premier League fan or a fan of a Premier League club, you'd pay £20 a month and you'd have access to all the Premier League games then live. I can't believe that hasn't happened or won't happen eventually because of
even a subscription service now, like you say, get those fixtures and stuff. I can understand why, you were saying about the big hitters aren't on this pay-per-view thing at the moment, because I presume that they'd have already picked those games and advertised them being, because they must advertise a certain amount of fixtures up to a certain point. Like, these are the fixtures which are going to be live on Sky Sports, and these are what you're going to get, blah, 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 blah. So that might be up until Christmas, say. It might even not be up to Christmas, because they do the Christmas fixtures closer to the time. It might be end of October, for example. I could see then them switching it to the bigger teams, like the Man Uniteds and the Chelseas and things like that, and you've got to pay to see them. But even then, by that point, people who have gone, nah, it's tough, I'm not doing this. It was obviously in line with the big project, I think it was being called.
The big picture.
The big picture, that was it. And they were saying that the money generated from this pay-per-view thing, that was going to be used to help the clubs lower down the pyramid, to help that, and things like that. It just seems a lot of, even because you'd have thought, right, say, for example, myself and you now, I'm a member of Chelsea, you're a season ticket holder at Wolverhampton. You'd have thought that they'd have gone to the clubs, right, you guys can show your games on your channel, on, Chelsea, Chelsea TV, Wolves website or whatever, Wolves TV, if they've, something like that. But your members have to pay for it, but then it goes directly to the two clubs then, rather than now it going via Sky or BT, and then to the, a fiver of that £15, if that, will go to the two clubs and they'll split that. But it seems ridiculous that it's been, like you said last week, it's been monopolised by these big TV companies and stuff.
Yeah, some of the coverage as well has been awful since the restart. I don't know whether that's because they're sort of down to the bare bones of their commentating staff, and they've got some. Yeah, but it seems to be like the frontline pundits as well are terrible. Like Steve McManaman on BT. I don't know what he's like when you watch Chelsea, but he's very, very anti-Wolves. He's very, very anti everybody that's not Liverpool. So you'd expect as well, if you're paying £15 a month, £15 for a game, you want absolute straight down the line, no bias at all. Whereas if you watch the games at the moment, the Man United game the other week against Spurs, you had Gary Neville cheering when United were given that penalty in the first couple of minutes. Yeah, that would never have happened 20 or 30 years ago when you have, Brian Johnson and John Watson and people like that. They must follow teams. They must be huge football fans, but they are professionals at the end of the day, and they don't go around
there
cheering.
Was that image, wasn't there? Was there that image of who was it? Souness and Evra. They were in the studios. Between they were in the studio for those games, the Man United game and then the Liverpool game. And they just have the still image of Souness, and how they're sat. I mean, obviously, Evra's slumped at the end of the United game, and Souness is there looking all smug because obviously Man United have lost 6-1, and hence why Evra looks upset, and Souness looks really happy. But then obviously, what preceded that, or what came after that, was obviously Liverpool losing 7-2, and then the roles reversing, because obviously Evra was like, well, we lost 6-1, but we were down to 10 men and all this stuff, blah, 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 blah. And Souness was obviously gobsmacked because, no disrespect to Villa, they're a great club, a fantastic club. But obviously Tottenham, at the moment, are a lot of a higher calibre of them. And them beating United 6-1 is a lot more respectful, you would say, than Liverpool, the Premier League champions, losing 7-2 to Aston Villa. But it's one of those things.
Hang on. You reckon Spurs beating United is a bigger deal than?
No, it's a lot more. No, not a bigger deal. I would say you would think that Spurs beating United 6-1 is a lot more expected than Villa beating Liverpool 7-2.
No, it isn't. It's more you'd expect. So you weren't that surprised when Villa beat Liverpool 7-2?
No, listen. You would expect, if you were going to say, right, which one of these results is going to come in? Spurs beating United 6-1, or Villa beating Liverpool 7-2, you would say the Tottenham one would be the more expected result.
Right.
Rather
I don't think that's
Villa
how
one.
you... Right. I didn't think
that's what I'm trying to say. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think I don't think I explained it clearly. Look, I've been teaching all day. Okay, I'm tired. So yeah. But anyway, it's
somehow now, Billy, we have 0 listeners on Instagram. Even though you
comes
still
up with
there.
It comes up with 1 on my screen.
It's just come back. Yeah, you're alive again.
Yeah, well, I mean, to be fair, I wasn't there in that moment, was I?
Very true. Right, so that's the serious football chat out the way. Paying for Premier League football is, well, not stupid. Even. There's not a problem with paying for it, but it's the problem with everybody's paying for BT and Sky as it is, and then you're asking people to pay these premiums for what are very ordinary games and exploiting real football fans because they are the real football clubs really who are getting attacked. It's Burnley, Albion, Wolves, those sort of bottom half of the Premier League teams. That
we've got that on record now. Just as well, you just said that Wolves were a bottom half Premier League team. Okay, is that what I said? You just came out. Those were the words that just came out of your house. Burnley, Wolves, bottom half Premier League teams. There we are, everyone. Clip that. Everyone who's a Wolves fan, after he said last season they'd finish top 4, he's now saying they'll finish in the bottom half.
Well, we are at the moment, so that is true.
But anyway, moving on. So what do you want first, Tom? Do you want the poll, or would you like the... or would you like the news?
I'll have the poll first. Let's have a look at the poll.
Okay, so the poll, obviously now I can't look at my phone, so I had to frantically write all the results down before to make sure that I was still able to do that. Right. Yeah, so that's what I was doing, was because obviously I'm not able to now check what the percentages were. Saying that, how many people do you think voted this week, Tom? Last week we didn't have any because I forgot to put the post up. And the week before we had 1.
Oh, I think it's going to be a big week. I've got a good feeling, so I'm going to have myself a peppermint cream while you tell me. I think it's 3.
3. Did you vote, Tom?
No, I didn't even see it.
So that's a good sign, because we had 1 again. But again, I preempted this and asked the pupils I saw today of their question. So the question that we asked last week but didn't get posted, so we asked the same question this week, was what is the best biscuit in the UK? Because obviously in America there are slightly different ones. So if you are listening from abroad, please don't get offended. Tom has already done that to 2 countries today. So we had
Trump.
Yeah, chocolate digestives, hobnobs, custard creams, and bourbons. They were the 4 choices. Tom, which of those 4? Now I would like to precedent this with it was plain hobnobs. Okay, it wasn't chocolate hobnobs like a lot of my pupils were asking me, because I think chocolate hobnobs would have had the resounding win, regardless. So, which of those 4 choices, Tom? Which do you normally go?
I'd go for a bourbon.
Bourbon. Are you a dunker?
Oh yes.
Yes. Yeah. I think I'm more of a custard cream kind of guy, but again, a dunker. So yeah, I think the classics. I think we've gone for none of this fancy chocolate stuff. And the famous Peter Kay sketch. Have you seen that when he talks about hobnobs being the Marines of biscuits, and then he just dunk again? So yeah, if you haven't seen that, look it up on YouTube. It is brilliant. Tom having another. What was it? A mint cream.
Peppermint cream.
Peppermint cream. Okay, Tom, thanks. But so where were you going to? So you said, would you have both voted for bourbon then on that one?
Yeah.
And I'd have gone for custard cream. So in fourth place, Tom, with 9% of the votes.
Oh my God.
Was bourbons.
Oh, for goodness sake.
With double the amount of votes, or double the percentage, with 18% was custard creams.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then hobnobs came in second with 31%, and then chocolate digestives were the main one. And I think like I said, I think the chocolate of the chocolate digestive is what wins a lot of people over, especially because now you've got these like double chocolate, and you can have the chocolate biscuit and then the chocolate on top and the chocolate tips and caramel and all this stuff. We did obviously have a specific brand of. Oh no, we didn't have a specific brand because you thought I was going to do different brands, didn't you? You said last week I thought I was going to have McVitie's and etc. But no, yeah. But so next week, I would say we'll ask the people live on Instagram what they want as the poll, but we can't do that because there's only one person listening. So if anyone joins between now and the end, we can try and quickly ask them.
So
I don't know if you can.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can. Somebody joins.
I don't know if you can like send a question out and it stays up on there, sort of thing.
You can actually, Billy, if you send me a question on Instagram through there. See there at the bottom, there's like a question box. Yeah. You can send it in, and then I can put it on there. Yeah. So as Billy's doing that, I'll just tell you that you can listen to my podcast, Rouse Every Weekend, on most good and bad places where you get your podcast providers, podcast platforms, if you will. Yeah. So yes, have you been listening to my podcast, Billy? Oh
yeah,
Billy,
I managed to listen.
You haven't done it right, you numpty.
How do I do it? Do I
You just typed it
in the comment? Yeah.
No, there's a. Can you see at the bottom? There's like a question box.
No, it just says comment. It says comment, and then there's a direct message. That's it.
Oh. Yeah. Oh well, I'm very sorry, Billy. It just looks like
maybe if you tap
question.
Maybe you tap the question, and then maybe you can ask the question. Maybe that's the problem.
No, I can't. It says questions from your viewers will be shown here. This is great listening, isn't it, for everybody at home? We'll sort it out maybe for next week, but
next
I'm
week,
sure they'll see. Obviously, it's the only thing on the chat.
Yeah, but no, yeah, I managed to listen to the first few. I listened to them whilst I was in bed one morning, so I managed to get them all out and things. But I remember the problem I've got is you showed me a teaser to one that you were going to release, and that's been my favourite still after all the ones I've listened to. Yeah, that one I enjoyed that one quite. I did chuckle that one.
Well, I deleted that one because I thought it was terrible.
No, yeah, I did have a chuckle to it and stuff. So yeah, I think the concept of it in particular was pretty good, rather than the actual execution. But I thought, yeah, it was quite good, Tom. So you should definitely do it again. So I won't spoil any more.
Maybe have it. It depends how many episodes you've listened to, because I did do a kind of call-in,
so I need to
or radio call.
I need to keep. I need to obviously listen a bit more forward and stuff. But no, yeah, it's been good. But moving on, because I don't know how long we've been.
Yeah.
No, it's because I'm just worried about us time-wise. We can come back. We can circle round back to your podcast, Tom. Don't worry. I know you want to get the love and stuff. Here's the news, Tom. Here's the news, because last week we had breaking news, didn't we, Tom? You got one right. Yeah. Let's see if you can go for two in a row now.
Not a chance.
Okay, so I'll start with this one. So a man has been told that snakeskin isn't a legitimate face covering, especially when it's still attached to the snake. Okay.
Okay.
Denmark the Denmark government is temporarily legalizing sex with domestic animals during confinement, and a burglar has been caught. They've managed to catch a burglar because he left his name and address at the scene of the crime.
Okay, right. So the first question is, where's the snake skin story? If he says America, it's going to be that one.
No, it's from the other side of the border for me. It's in Manchester. So yeah, it was on a bus going
He's
in
a snake
Manchester.
on the bus.
He had he was wearing a snake wrapped around his head on a bus.
Wow. Now I'm gonna tell you my initial thoughts. Right.
Yeah.
Because the first two were to do with animals. I think that my gut is telling me that the third one is made up, because I reckon that you've scanned through the paper and you've seen two stories about animals together. But I will pry further. So you didn't give me much information about the burglar, I don't think. But then again, could he be sending me one way because he's given me so much about the Denmark government? He's been really specific with that.
I've just read you Tom, I've just read you the headlines.
Yeah.
Literally the headlines. That's what it is. So
I know. So go on, give me more information about the burglar one then.
So the information has been helped to help catch this burglar who was in Sunderland, and he broke in to the garage in Sunderland and stole £150 worth of cleaning equipment back in March. So this is quite a way away, but obviously I don't know why it's taken him this long, but it must be obviously it's only broke out that he's just broke that he's been jailed as a result of it. It's important. And he was making a getaway and he accidentally left a bag which contained letters both bearing his name and address. So he's left a bag with, documentation in it. We had his name and address, and obviously it's led them to help catch him. So that's basically it.
What was his name?
Malcolm Pike.
Okay. Let me just write that down. Malcolm Pike from Sunderland.
Pike with a Y as opposed to an I.
Don't tell him Pike. Okay. Right. So then, the snakeskin. Have you got a name for the snakeskin man?
The name for the snakeskin man, he has asked not to be named because I think legally, I don't think technically, I think obviously you're supposed to wear face masks on or face coverings, I think is the technical term, and he was covering his face. So he was fine because and it was they noticed this because they thought it was quite an unusual mask because it obviously went round his head a few times.
Writhing.
Yeah. So they obviously didn't want to get too close as well in case it attacked at all. So yeah.
What kind of a snake was it?
I don't think I actually know, to be honest with you, Tom. It was a big snake. I can tell you that.
One of the big ones.
One of the big ones is what I'll say. I know it wasn't venomous. It wasn't one. It was a friendly snake, shall we say?
Does it say at which point he got reprimanded for wearing this snake? Did the bus driver?
No, there was no reprimand at all.
Oh.
It was a case of the news story has come about as a result of another passenger bring it to the attention, as opposed to he's been arrested and this is why he's been arrested. It's a case of someone has obviously rang up this tabloid, if you will, and said, "Oh, I've been on a bus with a snake," and and obviously they'll have to have provided evidence to prove that. So yeah. Do you want to know about Denmark?
Of course I do. But the question I want to know is, which department of the government did this come from?
Right. It's the health minister has announced this.
Right.
Magnus Heineck has announced this. Okay, that bestiality, although illegal, has been shown to lower blood pressure and symptoms of anxiety and depression, and is now part of stress relieving approach that the government is taking during lockdown. Only during lockdown, okay? Okay.
Have they not discovered their right hand yet?
Obviously not. So yeah.
Wow. I think that's true.
Okay. So which are you going?
I think the snake one is true as well, but just because of the name, Malcolm Pike. So the Sunderland
So you're
burglar
sticking-
who left his address. Yeah.
So you're sticking with that, are you? Okay.
Yeah.
So well done. The snake is true. And it was just a light brown serpent. They couldn't name the species because it was there. There is, I think, if you allow me to share my screen, Tom, I can show you a picture of said.
Again, unprecedented word of the year 2020. We're going to see Billy's screen live on the podcast. If you watch on YouTube, not if you watch on Instagram. Sorry.
Well, I can obviously pick up my phone, Tom, and show them the screen.
No, don't worry. I mean, you'll literally be showing yourself.
Tom, you need to allow me to share my screen.
Oh, sorry. Oh, God, this is so unprecedented. There we go. You have permission. Permission granted.
There we are.
Oh, wow.
So
that's not. Is that covering his mouth? Oh, yeah, there is glasses there. I can see, yeah.
Hang on. If I quickly. There we are. You can actually see me and Tom there as well. Inception there.
Wow. Insane. Yeah, very good.
So that's the one. But Tom, you were right.
I can see that because I can see the Denmark government. Oh no, go on. What's going on
Denmark? Here? Hang on. So the Denmark government is a fake news story.
Right.
It was completely made up in a hoax, but it got traction. It got traction in the news, which is how I found it. And they've obviously since. So you were wrong with that. And the burglar, Malcolm Pike, is a real person, Tom.
Oh, sorry, Malcolm, if you're listening.
Yeah, I'm not going to share his. There is a mugshot. I'm not going to share that on Instagram or anything like that. But it was, that was true. That was true. So once again, Tom, I have consumption.
You've bested me.
Yes. So that's we're back to the normal levels. Yeah. So yeah. But
very good, Billy. I enjoyed that one a lot. I think that was your best one so far. You've peaked a year into the podcast. You've peaked.
Well, I said last week, didn't I? Last week I said and you can probably, you listen to episode 1 compared to, well, maybe not this episode because obviously I failed to explain Liverpool and Aston Villa and all that malarkey. But yeah, it was. I think I've improved, and I know, with your podcast, people should go and listen to it because it's quite short and sharp rather than this 40-minute episode. If you want something, if you need just a quick fix, because it's pretty much daily now you're posting, aren't you?
Well, although I didn't do one. One didn't go up today, and I don't think I'm going to be able to get one up by tomorrow. So last week it was every day. Yeah. This week less so. Next week maybe every day, but it depends when I have ideas.
It does make me laugh, Tom, because our university group chat has now been taken over by me and you just posting our podcasts into it and going, listen to this, and it'll be, again, all our university friends, if you have made it this far, thank you for listening this far, and you have obviously seen the message in the group chat.
Yeah, you should if anybody has listened this far, just text us saying thanks for the laughs this year. Yeah, with one single kiss.
And we miss you.
Yeah,
Tom, there is actually a question, Tom, that I forgot to ask you, and it's an update. And I know a lot of people who listen to this podcast want an update on your friend in the corner, if he's still in the corner behind you.
Ben Stokes.
Yeah, Mr. Stokes. If he's still there, is he still alive? Frank hasn't eaten him. That was our main concern. Frank hasn't found him yet.
No, well, he does know where he is now because I introduced him the other day. I lifted him up and said, "Look, there's a fish here," and he was like pouring at the tank. But no, he's he hasn't. He can't get in because there's a roof on it. But it did make me laugh.
You've said that now.
Yeah, it made me laugh listening back to some of the podcasts from last year because there was a lot of mention about Ben Stokes, a huge amount of Ben Stokes chat. Which has died down quite a bit. I wonder why.
I do.
Sport.
Yes, I know. One that'll be coming up soon is obviously Sports Personality of the Year. So obviously that will probably be one of the questions we ask in the poll. Just because obviously loads of people. There's been loads of suggestions on Instagram Live, Tom, what we should do next week.
We've
So
been
we'll have
inundated.
We'll have a look through them and pick one. So keep an eye on Twitter. Tom, where do they need to go to find everything before I do my recommendation?
Well, I don't know because I can't see on my phone because obviously it's providing the Instagram live entertainment. But if you have enjoyed this, then perhaps we can do it again sometime. But yeah, at Scenes Podcast and at Absolute Scenes Pod. I'm not sure which one is which, but if you type Absolute Scenes Podcast into various different places, it will come up. So, Billy, it's your turn to recommend us something.
So in line with my Year 11 GCSE course, they're currently completing an assignment on sports leaders, and they have to talk about sports leaders and what makes a successful sports leader. And as a result, I have managed to get away with doing work in the evenings, watching documentaries or sports-related podcasts, listening to sports-related podcasts and things like that on Netflix and various other means, Amazon Prime, So that's been I'm going to do some work this evening, and I've watched a whole series of a documentary or something like that. And one that I particularly enjoyed was The Playbook, which is on Netflix. I think there's 5 episodes so far that they've done. There's only been the first series, and it's quite a breadth of different people on there. There's a few that I know. Jill Ellis, who's the USA's soccer coach, women's soccer coach. She's done an episode. They're only 30 to 35 minutes long. Serena Williams' coach, Patrick Montalegru, I think is how you pronounce his name. He's done an episode. Doc Rivers is a famous basketball coach. He's done an episode. And Mourinho, he's episode 3. He's done an episode, which I think it's come out this year as this series. So it's almost, in line. I think he must have done this, in line with the All or Nothing series on Amazon Prime. Obviously, I don't think he was manager of Tottenham at the time. I don't think so. Anyway, I can't remember off the top of my head whether Tottenham appear in the the vignettes and stuff. But I've got 1 episode left. But I really enjoyed it. It's quite different. It's talking about their life as a coach and how they've come to where they are and what they think are like the key aspects of being a successful coach. So it's quite different to the normal. You've got especially Mourinho, who wasn't a professional player. Him talking about that and things like that. And it's typical Mourinho fashion of him going, "No, I'm not talking about that. No, I'm not talking about that." So give it a listen. I've enjoyed it, and
similar to that, there is a YouTube channel called Coach's Voice, which I'm sure you've seen in the past. There's Nuno's been on that a couple of times, and I think Mourinho. There's lots of other very, very famous managers, and I think it's just from football, I believe. But they talk through their most famous wins and explain some of the tactical decisions from that. So that's similar in a way. It's very, very good. So I think we'll wrap up today's podcast. Thank you to Billy for watching on Instagram, and thank you to everybody who's listened over the last year. Billy, I've tried to do various podcasts with various different people before. I didn't think that I would get one to last for a year. So here's to many, many more, and hopefully we'll keep our 20 listeners happy for quite a while to come.
Well, how far off? We're nearly at 50 now, aren't we? If this is 47, is it? 46 episode?
This is episode 47.
So 3 more, and we're halfway to 100.
Yeah. Even though we had 3 months off, we've somehow managed. I think because we did quite a few, didn't we? Around the beginning of lockdown, we did like a week when we did one every day, and that was exhausting. It was too much. But yes, never mind. So thank you very much, everybody, listening today and for the last year, and we'll see you next time. See you later.
Bye.
Bye.